Welcome to the American Soccer Crash Course. I'm Christian Lee here with Lodge Dills on a sunny afternoon in Chicago. Lodge, how you doing? How does it feel? It feels like we're back every time we do one of these.
I know. As I probably said on the last one, it's good to be back, Christian.
Yes, yes it is. Some housekeeping. United States plays Jamaica June 24th at Soldier Field. We've made some promises on the show about certain things we were going to do that we didn't do. We're really hoping this one doesn't fall in that basket, but we want to do a tailgate, an American Soccer Crash Course tailgate at Soldier Field for that game. So we're going to drum up a little excitement here. Mm-hmm. If you're interested in making that happen, going to the game, there's rumors that we might actually field some good players in the Gold Cup this year, so might get to see some actual talent.
Yeah.
But either way, it should be a great Saturday in the Soldier Field lot. So just wanted to announce that, get that ball rolling. And remind you in general that we're going to be covering the Nations League and covering the Gold Cup anytime the U.S. men's national team's playing this summer. We'll be covering with podcasts or TikToks or whatnot. We got through the dry spell post World Cup, and we're back ready to rumble. Mm-hmm. So, Lodge, without further ado, your reminder per usual.
Yeah, I would be remiss, or the producer would be, at my throat if I didn't say this. But make sure to like and subscribe on all platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
I've had Twitter fingers lately.
Twitter fingers, yeah. The producer, he will not be named, has been going off on quite a few different accounts these days. But yeah.
So check us out there. Puts bread on the table. So, Lodge, without further ado, there's lots of U.S. men's national team we're going to get to. The real agenda of the day is going to be giving our end of season awards. I've cooked up my final grades for these for our students, our U.S. men's national team.
Full on grades. I didn't do that.
I know. I did. This is my Super Bowl.
All right.
This episode in particular. I love watching Americans play club. So that's what we got going, and we're going to give out our awards, and then we're going to get to a full preview of the Nations League Semifinal, which is, of course, U.S. versus Mexico. Mm-hmm. Our first U.S.-Mexico covering game as a podcast.
Yeah.
So that's an event in and of itself. Mm-hmm. But we'll preview that. But first, Lodge, I want to give you the first word. You're the international football expert here, I would say, and you did that essay on the importance of Messi's World Cup. So I want to give you the first word on Messi deciding to play for Inter Miami this season.
Yeah, let's talk about the 5'7" elephant in the room. MLS-y. The producer tried that one. I don't know if it's going to come off, but so super excited. Messi is officially coming and joining Inter Miami FC, bottom of the table on the east side of the bracket in the MLS. But really,
almost everyone makes the playoffs, though.
Almost everybody makes the playoffs, so anything can happen. Yes. But the way that kind of came to fruition was, I believe it was, I want to say, right after PSG got out of the Champions League, Messi went on a trip to, I think it was Saudi Arabia, when the team was kind of off a little bit. So he had an opportunity to go meet some people, do a couple different things over there, and really the PSG kind of front office was very angry about that. They wanted him to be back with the team very early. It was kind of a misunderstanding is what he said. It kind of turned into a he said, she said, and PSG became no longer a viable place for him to play, which is crazy to think about, that they made such a big stink about something so small. But with that in mind, there were really three options where he could have gone. Number one, back to Barca. I think everybody would have, it's kind of like LeBron James coming home, except when he's 35 and old and about to retire.
But still very good.
Still very, very good. Let's not forget he did win a World Cup last couple months ago. So it could have been Barca. They kind of rolled out the red carpet for him, gave him a financial package. A similar thought was had in Saudi Arabia. Now, if the viewers do not know, Ronaldo is right now in Saudi Arabia, and a couple of other big names such as Karim Benzema, N'Golo Kante.
Yep, just in the past week, they're getting hot with the.
It's state-sponsored sports washing, I think, as we talked about a little bit before.
Yeah.
But they're going ahead and really the country is buying the players and then kind of just assigning them to teams.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know if you've noticed, but all of the headlines have been like Saudi has bought.
Yeah.
And so,
because I never know the teams.
I don't know any of the teams either. Yeah. So then they're going ahead, buying the players, kind of putting them on a team. So and Conte's playing with Benzema, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
But Messi's package was $1.6 billion over 3 years, which included things such as, I believe, house, kind of cars, everything that you would want there. Image rights, which is huge for athletes to be able to have rights to your own image. And then lastly, no taxes, which is unheard of. 1.6 billion just tax free. Like, congrats.
And we know Messi has a problem with taxes in the past too, so he would have loved that.
Tax evasion. Everybody does tax evasion over there.
Yeah.
Or every athlete has been accused of tax evasion at some point over there. But the last package that he was given, and the one that he went with, and we're very excited to have him, was Inter Miami's. Now, Christian, or I should say the producer, was telling me about this package a little bit before, and I'm going to kind of give him the floor here to talk a little bit more about it. But
yeah, so I know they're still ironing out the details on salary, which I'm sure will be astronomical as well. But it's really a great deal for the MLS because it binds them into Messi's interest, just in the same way that David Beckham's been playing in the MLS and floating around the MLS for a long time.
Yeah.
That's what they've done with Messi. So they're going to nail him down with he's going to get a cut of the Apple TV revenue. I would imagine Apple's pretty damn happy about that decision.
Yeah.
One interesting thing about Apple too and Apple TV's coverage. Admittedly, I've never really watched MLS before this year, but I'll like tune in here and there. It's actually like coverage is fantastic. Yeah, and like if you've ever seen like Friday Night Baseball with Apple TV, just like presentation and cameras are unreal.
Are they doing like the 8K thing then?
What's that?
Like the 8 where they have a couple
8K,
games a year?
yeah.
Where they have
yeah,
8K.
I mean, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's like unbelievable picture. And they even have like kind of a whip around show where they show all the games at once. And that, like, even if you're neutral, got nothing on.
Yeah.
It's pretty entertaining. But all to say, because it's Apple and not like ESPN or Fox or whatever it may be, they're actually like on everyone's phone already worldwide. So there's no like issue of like who gets the rights to MLS in the UK versus anything like that. Like, it's Apple and they get everything. So that is a huge deal for Apple as well.
Yeah.
And you know, in turn for Messi, who's going to get a cut of that revenue as people from all around the world tune in. And then beyond that, he's going to get a cut from Adidas of all the jerseys he sells, which will be through the roof. And he's going to get what Beckham got, which is like an option essentially on any new expansion team or something of that nature.
Right of first refusal or something like that to buy a team. Yeah.
So they threw the kitchen sink at him, and honestly, props to the MLS. That's a great deal, and it's just a good day to be an MLS neutral podcast who's never said anything bad about the MLS.
Never said anything poor about the MLS. Messi will look perfect in pink, I gotta say.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, even the photoshops are looking good off the rip. So hey, we're happy to have him. Little side note, I bought the rumors were circulating. I bought tickets at $50. Haven't sold them yet, but they're going for a lot more than $50.
I saw like
Fire at Miami at the Chicago Fire.
I saw like 800 for some of them.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That could put some
that
food
might
on the
just
table
paid
for
for my trip to Europe.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that'll be super exciting, and I would say in general, this Messi thing adds to the spoils of being a casual soccer fan in this country right now. Like. Even having this podcast lodge, it's so exciting to think about. We just got through the dry spell. I would say we got through the dark forest with a lot of the U.S. players, but like you got a competent U.S. team, but more importantly, you get to watch these players play abroad, like on your streaming services or wherever. And there's a lot of them in these top 5 leagues. You do that like every weekend, and then you got like Copa America coming next summer at home. You're going to have Messi playing the MLS, and then you're going to have the World Cup in 2026. Like, we are so spoiled.
It's the perfect time to get into soccer.
Yeah, it's a perfect runway, and makes me more excited for the pod.
Yeah.
So, that's our Messi story. We're so pumped. And yeah, I think Miami's going to be a good fit for him. It'll be interesting to see if he learns English, but.
I don't know. I mean, in Miami, I don't know if you necessarily.
He doesn't really need to.
I don't know if you need it. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah. So, anyways, on to our Americans Abroad review, our end of season rewards. We got any fancy? We got the Dundies and the
what should we call
the
these?
Lodgies,
the Crashies.
the Crashies.
Let's call them the Crashies.
All right, on to the Crashies. So the basic
Producer,
idea.
Can we get a graphic out here?
Yeah, there we go. I'm just gonna put the little like
a car-
figurines up,
like a car crash or something on the side.
yeah. So basic idea here, Lodge. Like there's in the U.S. men's national team universe, there's a bunch of sickos out there, and they can go so deep into the pool and pull Paxton Aronson out or Taylor Booth or some of these guys. But this is a podcast for the casuals. It will remain so. Mm-hmm. We ultimately believe in the platform that is the U.S. men's national team and just international soccer and how that is always appealing to the casuals. Mm-hmm. So that's what we want to focus on for the most part. I would say we're thinking about the core team, like 17, 18 guys, I would say, with these awards. Yeah. So I'm going to kick it over to you for our first award, which is most valuable player, maybe team of the year kind of candidate. Mm-hmm. Who is your MVP of the pool?
Well, I mean, very easy choice, and he has never been seen in the Stars and Stripes before, but you'll be seeing him this summer. Yeah. Folarin.
Yeah, so we got confirmation. Folarin Balogun.
Folarin Balogun is my MVP. 20 goals in the Ligue 1, the French league.
21 he scored this weekend.
21, which is unheard of for an American. Very incredible. Just signed with us. Super excited to see what he's got. And super excited to see where he's going to play next year. I think that's just adds more fuel to the fire for this kid, because he was, for those who don't know, he was on loan for a team in the French league and now is kind of going back to Arsenal from that loan, but doesn't really have that big of a spot on that team. Yeah. So I would say they're probably going to offload him somewhere. Really interested to see where he goes.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, if I'm Arsenal, by the way, I keep him. Yeah. I think he could be the best striker they have. Like, it's not definitive. You'd have to see how it works out, but like, I don't think Jesus is like phenomenal. Yeah. I don't think Nketiah is like that good. Maybe we should, let our friend of the pod, Carter Sperry, deliberate this. But I think that would be, he probably will move, but I think Arsenal would be smart to keep him. Yeah. So as we go through these awards, I'm going to give my grades as well on A to F on their season. Mm-hmm. This is a knockout of the park. This is the sole A+ of the group. Like you said, first American to score over 20 goals in a season. Obviously, most an American has ever scored in the top 5 leagues. Yeah. I cannot wait to play with our new toy, Lodge. It's gonna be exciting this summer. A+ for Balogun. And we'll see if he makes our starting lineup later in the pod. So biggest surprise of this season, Lodge. Who's your biggest surprise?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Tim Ream. Definitely the man that Pep said was a kind of a renaissance, I would say.
Said he would have bought him 10 years old.
Yeah, 10 years ago. He's been playing incredibly for such an old man. Let's be honest about it.
They call him Grandpa.
They do call him Grandpa. And I think Fulham's they did pretty well this year.
Yeah, they finished 10th. I mean, top 10 for Fulham. Yeah. Lots of people had him going right back down. I mean, and even you think about Ream, like he started day one. I was like, we were sending jokes, kind of laughing, like, what are they doing starting Tim Ream day one? And he was excellent.
Steady Eddie. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Tim Ream for my biggest surprise.
Yeah, I mean, and biggest surprise during the club season, and then even turns that around and parlays that into a huge surprise on the world stage at the World Cup. Mm-hmm. That is also my biggest surprise. I think that's a slam dunk as well. 2 for 2.
All right.
I don't think we're gonna have any discrepancies in those, but I also gave him an A. He was just excellent. So very cool to see. It that Renaissance thing. It does stink because you're like, I was willing to call him our best player a month or so ago, or 2 months before he got hurt. Yeah. But you're kind of wondering, like, all right, when's reality going to set in for the 36-year-old who's just playing out of his mind? But I think we ride that horse until he can't go anymore. Mm-hmm. So, all right, Lodge, here's where I would imagine we start to differentiate each other. But what is your biggest disappointment? Who is your biggest disappointment?
Oh, my God. Can I have a 3-way tie? I'm not going to do it.
It's sad how many might qualify for this.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know.
I'm going to give you one, though, because I got mine as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go with one, but really I could say any player on Leeds United. They were just relegated from the Premier League down to Championship. We're not very excited about that, but unfortunately I'd have to say Weston McKennie. I think just due to injuries and kind of the way that he came into the team, had a lot of adversity. And in some cases he overcame it. And in some cases, he just fell short. Now it's going to be another case similar to Fuller and Balogun where you're interested to see where he's going.
Yeah.
I mean, Leeds did not obviously pick up the option on him to buy. I think he would cost 30 mil, and I don't think they have that now that they're relegated. So he's going back to Juventus in Serie A. I don't know if he's going to stay there. I don't know if somebody else is going to pick him up. I think it's time. It's certainly a very pivotal point in his career where it's either going to go way up from here or might kind of teeter off into the abyss.
Yeah.
I think, moving forward, I'm super positive for the guy, but it has been a little bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the disappointment side. It's really his whole season is interesting, right? Because he was at Juventus, but he's getting played as like a right mid or a right wing back, and he wasn't loving that under Allegri. So for him, it was kind of he saw this opportunity to go play with Marsh, play with Adams, and try the Premier League out and play in his natural position as an 8. And Leeds like pretty much immediately screw him. Like I'm gonna put some responsibility on Weston, but like they did screw him by firing Jesse like immediately. As much as it was a risk to go to a relegation team, like that was scummy. They totally lured him in with Jesse, and then he got one game with Jesse. Yeah. But like I said, had some big Twitter fingers lately. But one really interesting thing that a lot of fans might not know about is basically there's this like guy who he's literally like a nightclub promoter, okay? And he works in like Dallas area where Weston's from. I don't know if you recall this, but he was like,
I do.
He was leaking a lot of like the Giorena stuff or like claiming things, and people were like, "Who is this kid?" And he refers to himself as 29, okay? And so he like considers himself part of Wes's posse, and now he's like, oh, he's just kind of brutal, but he's like glomming on to the U.S. men's national team. He took Balogun out for tacos yesterday. I'm like, dude, can we get these people away from this fucking guy?
Yeah.
But basically what he did with Weston, which was like really scummy, was he like went off into Twitter Spaces and basically said like, yeah, like Weston's not playing for the badge, like he's just not really into this Leeds thing. He's not giving his all. And so these Leeds fans, like the team had lots of structural issues, but like they're not going to like that.
Yeah.
And that went over super poorly, and the fan base turned on him. And so he's getting subbed out on the final day of the Premier League season, and they're chanting, "You fat bastard," as he walks out of the field.
That's 100% not on him, and it's just such it's like a tough situation to be in. So like,
I do think he should have distanced himself.
He probably should have. I mean, take the disappointment with a grain of salt. I don't want to say that it's on him in any certain way, but definitely a pivotal point in his career coming up. So
yeah, and and speaking of his transfer stuff, it was disappointing. I think he might have tanked his value a little bit. So we'll see what happens next, because man, it was a tough stint at Leeds. It just never seemed like he got
after
going.
Such a good World Cup too.
Yeah,
definitely
a big disappointment. So this one might be a little bit of a dark horse for my biggest disappointment, but I feel strongly about it. I even fires me up when I talk about it. But Tim Weah. So his club career has always been pretty stagnant. Even at Lille, it's been pretty quiet. Like this just trajectory of sometimes playing, sometimes not. Tim played well, but he didn't get a goal or assist. Like that's like something I feel like you hear a lot.
Yeah.
And he only finished with 2 the whole season, no goals. But for me, he scored more World Cup goals than he did Ligue 1 goals.
Yeah.
And like we had that first game Wales watch party. That was like one of the best moments. Like he gets so much class on that play that he just Pulisic slips him in and great finish. And then he was dangerous against England. He even like, I don't know if you recall that goal he scored right before halftime against Iran that got chopped off. But that was like a crazy finish. Like he was on fire. And then he gets back to Lille, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I guess we weren't really watching, but I heard you did well. You can go ride some pine and play wing back, like or right back or whatever."
Yeah.
And you got him saying like, "Oh yeah, my family really likes this right back position for me. Like this is great, really loving life." And it's like, dude, this is a disappointment, a massive disappointment to have such a good World Cup and then just do nothing with it. And it's not all his fault. Like I think he could use a change of scenery, whatever, but it is a massive like disappointment, and I will not be gaslit into saying it's not a disaster that he got put at right back.
That's fair. I mean, now, I don't know how that really fits in with the national team, because now we got to decide between him and Dest. And
yeah,
you want to say Dest, but Dest, I completely forgot about him. I probably would have put him as a disappointment here too.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. Okay.
Yeah.
Tie goes to the runner.
It's by the way, I gave Weston McKennie's season a C, and I'm giving Tim Weah's season a C minus.
So we're right there.
For just as I mentioned, he got plenty of playing time, but for me, like, I just can't see how that's not a huge disappointment.
Sure.
So moving on. Best transfer, Lodge. Who do you think made the best move, last summer that materialized?
Okay. Can I go with the loan?
Sure. Anything works.
I want to go with the loan here. And I'm going to go loan Ricardo Pepi to FC
Great
Groningen.
call. Like that.
I think, playing in Augsburg in the German league, didn't have a lot of experience, didn't have a lot of time to deal with the physicality, was kind of completely new to Europe, hadn't had any experiences over there. So it was very tough for him to kind of get in. And then had almost a revitalization after the World Cup. Unfortunately, it happened after the World Cup, didn't get called up, but we're super excited that he's playing well now, and now has quite a few teams in Eredivisie, the Dutch league, that are looking for him. I think the top two teams, PSV and
Feyenoord, maybe?
Feyenoord, yeah. Two of the top three teams are kind of fighting for him, and we're super excited to see that. So, I would say probably Pepi for me.
Yeah, 12 goals this season. One thing I looked at was that, of the top 10 goal scorers in the Netherlands, 9 of them were in the top half of the table. Pepi was on the worst team in the league and still managed to find his way to that top 10 goals. So shame we couldn't see him in a World Cup, but I think with Pepi and Balogun, we are set for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
They both look like really good prospects, but it's better to have two than one. So I likewise agree. I gave Pepi an A. I think one of the only other A's I gave, so that was good. Tough grader. So my best transfer is actually Tyler Adams to Leeds United. So last season for Leipzig, Adams was just kind of a shell of himself. Jesse Marsch coached the first half of that year. He got a lot of playing time. And there was even a rumor that he was considered one of Marsch's boys, and there's some animosity there. He couldn't really lead in the way that Marsch hoped he would in Germany. And then he very much fell off with Leipzig. And it almost, to me, I remember at the end of last year thinking, I've always thought of it as Pulisic, West, and Adams as that core. But, Adams is really dropping off. I'm not sure he would be considered part of that anymore. However, he totally cemented himself in the Premier League as part of that core, which normally doesn't happen. And under that Jesse Marsch terrorism ball, he was actually really strong when he was just instructed to go be chaotic and just go, tackle people, get in faces, make the game difficult. Destroyer, yeah. And that he really lived up to that. It was interesting to see the discourse, because there is an accepted kind of thing that the Americans could use players with class who can kind of create in that final third. And Tyler Adams is the antithesis of that. But so that was a knock he started to get as the year went on. And maybe people got a little bit kind of tired of his dogging him moments where he's getting in people's faces for no reason. But if my grade was a B+ at the time of all those things, it became an A- when Tyler Adams did absolutely nothing. When he got injured, was on the bench, and his team sank to the bottom of the Premier League without him.
Yeah.
Because that destroyer was vital for their survival. And, he ended up being the best player on Leeds, when it was all said and done. So big A, that's an A- for me for great comeback season. And I think a great transfer, even once Jesse Marsch was gone. But unfortunately, he's gonna have to transfer again. But I think he got a swagger back. So
I love the destroyers, man. I mean, Casemiro proved that they're needed. They're needed in soccer. So you can come out and say, it's stereotypical American, just playing destroying ball, but they're necessary in soccer, and so it's good to see. And I mean, unfortunately, it had to be shown that way that they got relegated without him. But it does show the importance of him. Yeah,
for sure. And I think he'll have suitors around Europe. I hope he's able to find his feet and be comfortable wherever that is. So let's go over to worst transfer, Lodge.
Okay. I'm gonna go Serginho Dest.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Serginho Dest because, I mean, he just came into. First off, was the Barcelona transfer at the beginning of last year?
I think it was two
years ago.
I think he got 2 full years in Barcelona.
Okay, so we're not going to count the Barca time, although it was poor. But was it a loan with an obligation to buy?
It was a loan with an option to buy.
Option to buy,
and they were it was like mean how many times it made it through Fabrizio Romano that
AC
Milan are not going to buy Dest. They
Yeah.
don't want him. And
Yeah.
he said it a million times. It's like, all right, we get it. Stop hurting our feelings.
I mean, it's unfortunate to come into a Milan team that's doing that well, that has like such good kind of synergies, that everybody's in sync. Like, they made it pretty far in the Champions League. They played pretty well. Serie A was like a tough league to play in this year, and he just did not fit the mold, did not fit into the game plan. And odd man out from very early on. I think he had like 1 or 2 starts, and then from there was coming off the bench, just wasn't able to show his stuff.
And then he got like frozen out, like frozen harder
Iced.
than like he's like they're like playing games, and he's like taking Snapchats from the beach volleyball court.
Yep, they had him. I mean, similar to Barcelona, I want to say, where he was just training by himself, like
in the sunken place.
Yeah, you got to feel bad for the guy. Like, I don't know what he's doing over there. He seems like a professional. He seems like everything's doing well, but just two tough times now. I'll be another one where I'm interested to see where he's going to go, but not boding well, unfortunately.
Yeah. So this was definitely up there on my bad transfers. How could it not? I gave him an actual F on the season because that's what it was. It was a wasted year. But I guess my one piece of sympathy for him was like, he's got Barcelona wages. He tried to get out of his situation and it didn't work out. And it's a loan, and he's not like stranded and like screwed. In other words.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I didn't give it to it, but it's definitely bad. And you made an interesting point about like not really fitting the plans, being the odd man out. Like, he has a very specific skill set, right?
100%.
He's not a great defensive defender.
It's like a Danny Alves, like a João Cancelo, like a guy who's playing wing
Much
back.
worse.
Yeah, a poor man's in some scenarios, but he's a guy where he's coming out of the back. From a wing back position, trying to skill somebody, trying to beat them, play with the attack a lot of the time, but it's going to cause you to be out. Didn't really fit into Serie A, where they're pretty much all defensive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that's like one thing for his next move. And I'm sure we're going to talk transfers later, but he needs to make sure there's a fit between it's not just a random team who, has the pedigree. Like, his agents need to make sure they're saying like, okay, do you want this guy who's really good at playing out of the back, but is not going to be your best defensive coverage ever? Like, there just needs to be a fit there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, Dest getting my one and only F on the season.
Okay.
So worst transfer. I think the correct answer is the correct answer to me is John Brooks to Benfica, because he went to Benfica and didn't play like a single minute, but at the same time he was then able to get out of that one and go back to Germany like nothing ever happened. So that's like my honorable mention.
Okay.
But my worst transfer is actually going to be Chris Richards, a player who the U.S. men's national team has kind of thought of for a long time as a player with lots of potential, but had always been hurt. And so to try and he was in Bayern's system, kept getting loaned, and you can understand the want for just like consistency, and you want to like live in a certain place. Yeah. And that's a reasonable want, but and I mean, they do pay a lot more money in the Premier League, to be fair. So like, maybe he's sitting here laughing at me thinking that with his bag that he got worst transfer, but he did move to Crystal Palace in the Premier League and effectively rode the bench the whole year behind two like established Premier League center backs, and Joachim Andersen and Mark Gahey. So that was really disappointing for me. I'm giving that a D+, just because of all that pine riding. He did look good when he came in. He got like 3 starts where he was certainly decent. And maybe I'll eat my words if one of those 2 center backs leaves, which that's what a lot of U.S. men's national team fans are like, have their fingers crossed for.
Sure. But
it just felt like a bad transfer to me. And yeah, we'll see what he does. He's literally got to sit there and pray that works out. So that's my D+.
Okay.
He did hang out with the Ted Lasso cast a bunch, and he did dance with the cheerleaders on one occasion. So
nice.
Hopefully he got something out of the experience.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Lodge, your underrated player of the year.
I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this one.
I actually I have this gut feeling we're gonna say the same one. Go ahead.
Christian Pulisic.
Oh, okay. So we're not. Go for it.
Okay. So, I mean, the problem with that Chelsea team, and there was a big problem with Chelsea in the Premier League, was a goal problem, right?
Yeah.
They just could not put the ball in the back of the net to save their lives. And I don't know whether you kind of chalk it up to young core, a lot of discombobulation because they have so many players coming in, new ownership.
Chaos.
You can chalk it up to a bunch of different
Several
things.
coaches.
Every time that I saw him play, he was doing something positive. It's like one of those, where you were saying the negative of Tim Weah, where, he looks good, or you hear he had a really good game, but he didn't have a goal contribution.
Yeah.
That was Christian Pulisic's year.
Okay.
I mean, even in the 4-0 game that they were getting battered by Manchester United, you see him going up and attacking a ball with De Gea, like still fighting 4-0 down as he got subbed on like the 70th. Like, he's a guy that's going to go out and fight. And as I'm sitting here looking at my computer, looking at his stats, this did not show it. 1 goal, 1 assist in 24 appearances. Yeah. However, person that I'm excited about to see a transfer. There are rumors, as I sit here and look at my computer as well. Christian Pulisic, welcome to AC Milan. Skills and tricks. There are teams out there. There are really good teams, as we're talking about. AC Milan's a good team that want this guy. I think he showed his worth in a very, very poor Chelsea side, and I think has shown that he probably does not want to stay there, that his time has expired, as apparently a lot of Americans have at this time. As we're finding out going through kind of our cast here.
Yeah, really, lots of people are running their course.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see where he's going. But yeah, underrated player.
Nice. I got my Pulisic spiel here. I like what you're saying. I did give him a D for the season. It was D for disaster, really. It was bad.
It wasn't his fault, but...
Yeah, it wasn't all his fault, but it's just from his development.
It happened.
It has to be a disaster, right? Just like talking about his season, right? He stayed at Chelsea, I think he was iffy on what he wanted to do exactly, but I thought it made sense, since this is a club kind of evaluation, it was bad. But ultimately, he's the captain or the most important player of his team going into a World Cup year. Like, he got some games because of the Champions League and all these cup competitions, but not enough where he got worn out, which I think was good. Mm-hmm. And then he comes back and gets pretty unlucky because he started to – Graham Potter saw his World Cup and was like, we're going to give him some games. And then he got hurt going for a ball he really needed to go for against Man City. It was like just a bang-bang play and hurt himself. And then he was basically done from there. That was like January. They never pretty much played him again. And Chelsea, like you said, Chelsea dealing with so many issues. But Lodge, I would actually like to take this in a bit different direction, a little intermission from our awards, and just do a post-mortem on the Pulisic to Chelsea move, which is really the biggest American transfer of all time. And people have been on different sides of this argument, but for me, this move was a failure. And there was a reason going into it, and we talked about this when we did our big Pulisic episode, but there was a reason that people were saying this is like a marketing signing. They paid so much for him. He was at Dortmund, and he couldn't get on the field. And the season prior to his...
To be fair, let's be real about why he couldn't get on the field. It's because he wanted to have a move a little bit. I mean, he started playing poorly afterwards.
It was Jadon Sancho kind of took a spot.
Yeah, fair.
It wasn't quite. He was
it was accumulation of things, including Jadon Sancho, the forces that be.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he was incredible. And his injuries.
Yeah. But either way, I from the second you saw it, it was that initial excitement of Pulisic going to Chelsea. Oh my gosh! And then it's like, is that really the best move right now?
Yeah.
And it's tough because he has that awesome breakthrough in 2020, the lockdown year, when he was unplayable. He was like a top 5 player in the Premier League.
He was.
In that, weird COVID stretch of time, which can't really be compared to anything else.
People talk about Bubble TJ Warren, Bubble Pulisic. Oh my God, the guy was incredible.
He was special.
He was special. He was special.
Bubble Pulisic was really amazing, and then that capped off with an FA Cup goal, which unfortunately got hurt later that game. That stunk. Yeah. But then he was even pretty. He was good in their Champions League run, really good. He still got a good amount of playing time that second season, and he scored that awesome goal against Madrid, and then set up the clincher. To go through to the Champions League finals, like that in and of itself, along with the bubble play, some people are looking at that and saying it was an absolute success, and I totally respect that opinion, and I would be interested to see where you fall in a minute. But I just ultimately feel like in this third year, he's feeding off scraps, and he's like pretty inconsistent, and there's a big U.S. men's national team versus Chelsea debate over like Chelsea fans saying he's not good, and American fans saying like, well, look at the stats, look at his goals, assists per 90 and stuff like that. And I gotta say, like, especially that third season, I ultimately kind of side with the Chelsea fans in saying that a lot of times I didn't feel like he passed the eye test, even if he was coming out with stuff here and there. But he ultimately just, for me, fell to the wayside at a club where so many players do. Where Kevin De Bruyne, Mo Salah fell to the wayside.
Romelu Lukaku twice.
Yeah, twice. Yeah. Twice. So the second time when it was like
the $100 million man.
Yeah.
No.
It just happens at this club with this really bad culture. And I'm not surprised that it happened to Pulisic, and it's something that I kind of thought would happen to him all along. So I hope that, it would be more ideal for me if at 24 years old, he was making his move to a Chelsea, making his move to a team where he could, go strive for Champions Leagues. That's not the way it worked out, and he's got one in his pocket. But he's just another U.S. men's national team player who will have to pick up the pieces. And I think it's an interesting debate to be had about his Chelsea move.
Okay, I'm gonna give my take.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I'm gonna start off pretty much, and I'm gonna go backwards, peel back the onion from you. I'm gonna start from your end, and I'm gonna go to the front. So I think, as you mentioned it right at the end, he's 24. Okay, like we're talking about it like it's an end of career move. It's a, this is the prime of his career. He just wasted it, and now he's done. He's 24. Okay,
he's only had one season in his 7 pro seasons where he's started where you would say he was a starter though.
7 pro seasons at 24. We're good. Okay, continuing on.
Valid.
So you were talking about falling off, going into the Chelsea abyss.
Yeah.
Let's not remember another player that's also done that. Mason Mount, who was apparently the golden boy, the next one of the generation, like 2 years ago for Chelsea, now is going off, getting shipped off to Liverpool or somebody like that?
Yeah, United maybe.
Yeah, Man United. Not too sure. Like that was bound to happen with Chelsea. That's just kind of how they circulate through players. I'm not necessarily like this was a failure on his part. I think you chalk it up to Chelsea. It's an accumulation of factors. Additionally, the goals and assists per 90, I'm okay with not passing the eye test if you're getting results. Okay, like everybody wants to play like Man City. Everybody wants it to be beautiful, but who else is in? Who else is in the Champions League final right now? Inter Milan. They don't play pretty. They don't play beautiful. Like every once in a while, you need a guy that's just going to put the ball in the back of the net or get it into the right areas. Like he has an eye for goal. I think he's shown that. And then Champions League final showing like that much success from such an early age, 24 again. I think it was a successful move. I also think that it could have gone a lot better, and Chelsea probably wasn't the team. I don't think you can.
That's where I stand too.
I don't think that you can fault it looking back and say like, well, it could have been better. It could have been a different team. It was Chelsea. That's who picked them, and it happened. So I'm okay with it, and I think it was a good move. Unfortunate that it was Chelsea, but what are you going to do?
All right. I like it. So my underrated player, going back to the underrated player.
Yeah, that was a 15-minute tangent.
I'll be honest, Lodge. This is my Super Bowl. I'm good with this. I'm good with the length here. So Jedi Robinson, for me, most underrated U.S. men's national team player. I get why fans underrate him because I think part of it is his poor on-the-ball play has been really frustrating for the U.S. of late. But when he's for Fulham, he's much, much better on the ball. Still leaves a good amount to be desired in his ability to cross, especially with a guy like Mitrovic. Like, if he could get better at that, like, he could really be like an assist threat as a left back. But he's a really competent, strong defender. He doesn't make a bunch of individual mistakes. If he does get beat, he's so quick he can get back, and he's a really solid Premier League left back. Those do not grow on trees.
They don't.
So he's my most underrated player for the U.S. this year. I'm giving him an A-.
I'll take that.
Yeah. So okay. So this is like overrated player or player who at one point was overrated and got exposed this year. So.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna recency bias say Walker Zimmerman. I don't know if you saw that video last week where he just was playing. I don't know if it was a corner or what, but his whole team was in the box. A ball's played back to him. He just makes an absolutely terrible pass and then just kind of gets burnt. Yeah. And I think, this is an MLS neutral podcast now that Messi's here. Disclaimer, putting it right there. But once again, MLS tax. They're in Nashville SC. His team is in second right now. Yeah. He has not looked good. I actually have sat down and watched 1 or 2 MLS games.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I'm starting to come around. Has not passed the eye test.
I actually watched Miles Robinson last night, so we can compare notes and see what we come up with for this lineup. But yeah, I like that. My player who got exposed, 30 million pound man, Brendan Aronson.
That's fair.
So I got my notes here because this one is a real head scratcher because as much as I feel like he underwhelmed, it also like set up for a failure here because like he set the table for us by he scored a couple goals in the few games we played in CONCACAF last year, right? He scored against Canada and Honduras. So you feel like he's got an eye for goal. He had a really good Champions League performance against Bayern. I don't know if you remember that one where they were running on the break, playing in transition.
I remember.
Yeah, I'm not rubbing it in, but he was good, and that was like that's his bread and butter, is playing on the break or playing the middle third of the pitch, really. And then he gets this big price tag to go to Leeds. You got Leeds fans singing, "There's only one Brendan Aronson," and then they make a whole like American Boy song for him. And then early on, he like almost scores day one, and then he gets like this tap in against Chelsea, right? So everything has been set for this kid to be really good. There are U.S. men's national team fans saying he should start over Pulisic. This happened.
Yeah.
And then he just starts to play well but not contribute goals. And then he's not playing so well and not contributing goals, but he's still playing and he's playing all year round. And he's just kind of doing the pressing merchant thing. And you go back and look at it, and like in the MLS, and then when he played for Red Bull Salzburg, like he was never a goal assist guy. None of us did our homework there. Like he actually has not really ever been that prolific. And if you want to point to his numbers, his okay numbers in Austria, like he's playing for the best team in the whole league, so you're bound to do that. But he really, the Premier League kind of exposed that his middle third game, which is pretty good. He's not physical enough. He gets brushed off the ball like nothing. And then he really he's only 22. Like he was not even a big prospect in the MLS just a few years ago, but he does not have that final third like composure that makes a really good attacker.
Nope.
So that one was a big disappointment for me. I gave him a C- on the year. And honorable mention, Jordan Pefok. We had like some high hopes. Lodge, I actually looked at, it was funny. I looked at the like his final numbers this year, and it was like 4 goals and 3 assists. I swear back in like September, October, we were going like Jordan Pefok, 4 goals, 3 assists. Yeah. Like he did nothing the whole second half, and like lots of just cardio sessions and stuff like that. So honestly though, like to be fair, I think he, like again, that was like a little bit of expectations. Like I just don't think he's that great. I gave him a C on the year, but I think what Jordan Pefok did in coming to Union Berlin is what you want our players to do. Mm-hmm. He passed the test in Switzerland, bump it up a league, see how you do, and then we'll see what happens from there. But
fair enough.
Yeah. So I also had comeback player of the year as Ricardo Pepi. For me, I just made that award myself. But
okay,
all right. So your hot seat. So what I was thinking for hot seat.
We're doing hot seat, cool throne for those of you who know what that is.
Yeah, and especially in the context of like their play on the whole over the course of the season, in the context of their position on the U.S. men's national team, because as we've said a million times, the club season feeds the international game.
Okay, so we're doing.
I can take this away too. If you want.
Seat on the U.S. men's national team, or just hot seat in general?
I would say hot seat on the U.S. men's national team because of how the season went. Okay. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Want me to take mine away? What do you think?
Yeah, you're gonna start, and I'm gonna think, but I'm gonna act like we're engaged, but I'm really just gonna be thinking.
Okay.
It's gonna be monkeys and symbols.
Just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. So my hot seat is unequivocally Serginho Dest. You can't just not play soccer and expect to just hold down the fort. As much as he is a core piece to this team, and still is, a lot of people have said Joe Scally doesn't quite provide the same level of progressive passing and is a bit of a one-trick pony in that regard. But I don't really care. If you don't play soccer, you can't be on the soccer team. Yeah. So Serginho's got to nail this next move. Otherwise, I'm giving Joe Scally that seat. Don't care, regardless. Like I said, gave Serginho Dest an F, and Joe Scally I gave an A-. He just absolutely racked up minutes in the Bundesliga this year as like a 19, 20-year-old. So I don't even really care how we played. That's fantastic. Okay. 5 years ago, we'd be like losing our minds over a guy starting almost every game in Germany. So, yes, hot seat Serginho Dest, and he's got Joe Scally knocking on the door. So.
Okay. I'm going to go hot seat Weston. Seat Weston, and it's not because he's going to lose his spot on the team. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like the guy is making every roster that he wants to. Like he's a mainstay. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I'm saying is he might not be starting come time next camp. It's just based on the play that he had at Leeds. I think he, similar to Dest, has to nail his next move. I feel like a lot of U.S. men's players have to nail their next move. Yeah. And this is an opportunity for him to do it. But if he doesn't, somebody's going to come creeping up. It's just bound to happen at this point. So that's where I'm at.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And yeah, that is like people are saying that. Like people are calling for that. So, cool throne. You got one?
Yeah. I mean, another elephant in the room. It's Balogun. He's the cool throne guy. Like he can do no wrong in my eyes in these next couple games. He can do no wrong pretty much until we get to blanking on the tournament next year.
Copa America.
Copa America. He can do no wrong until we get to Copa America. I don't care. He's making the team. He's starting pretty much every game.
Yeah.
When we get to our lineup, we might do something a little tricky and make it so, maybe somebody else can also get in there with him. But, he's, at this point, number one on the team sheet, and it's not even close.
Nice. I like that. So my cool throne is a certain man I challenged at the beginning of the year to show us what he's made of, and that's Gio Reyna. I gave Gio a B for this season. It was a weird season for Gio.
It was a good season for Gio, though.
It was. I would say it was good. He first half of the year deals with some injuries and starts to work his way back into Dortmund pretty like not timidly. I don't know if that's the right word, but carefully at the very least. They know he's got a World Cup coming up. He obviously has the absolute craziness that was his World Cup and his World Cup story. But upon returning to Dortmund, first game back, hits just an insane goal to go up. Next game, scores the game winner. And then he basically gets frozen out in this Dortmund lineup. Yeah. Dortmund got really hot. We're nearing a sore subject here, Lodge, between you and I. But Dortmund got really hot, and so it was kind of a tough spot for Gio because he wasn't ever going to replace the people who were starting every day and winning every game. But ultimately, it was weird. He got he got this break glass in case of emergency role where if Dortmund were winning, he wasn't getting garbage time, but if Dortmund were in need of a goal, it was like, Gio, help. And he delivered. He did. He delivered time and time again. He actually scored what should have been a third game winner, and in my opinion is the game Dortmund lost the league in Germany when they went up 3-2 with in extra time, and the other team had a red card and they still conceded. So that should have been 3 game winners. And then on the final day of the season, they bring him in at 60 minute, and he gets 2 assists. And Dortmund end up one goal short of winning the title against your Bayern Munich. Sore subject.
We're not going to get into that this podcast.
It would just be too awkward. There's only 2 people in this room. But yeah, so my cool throw is Gio Reyna. He showed. Let me pull up the stats here, but like I said, very limited time. He ended up with the highest
goals assist per 90.
Yeah, expected goal per assist per 90, which of course is just probably
everybody
the gold
loves
standard.
The expected, yeah.
Yeah, so it's that's probably the best standard just in terms of.
It was 0.91 or something stupid.
Yeah. For me, like I said, I wanted to know what Gio Reyna is made of, and we certainly got that this year. Mm-hmm. And he's got to be just our absolute mainstay from here on out. He certainly answered the critics. So I did a good job killing time there to finally get you this number, which is he had 7 goals, 2 assists in extremely limited time. So, yeah, going to the goal of the year, Lodge. Your goal of the year for the U.S. men's national team.
Last one, best one. I'm actually going to go with a disallowed goal, throw a wrench in the plan here.
Ooh.
And it's Yunus Musa playing for Valencia in the Spanish league against Atletico Madrid. Only game I've ever watched of La Liga, like in the past probably 4 years, besides in El Clasico.
Yeah.
He just wound up and hit an absolute rocket.
Yeah.
Like way outside the box. Keeper had no chance on a very good keeper, Jan Oblak.
Yeah.
And they disallowed it for something in the run of play. It wasn't him.
Didn't affect the shot.
I was super sad because I was like, damn, that is going to be absolutely everywhere, and just now nobody saw it.
Yeah.
So I want to give it its stars, its shine, because he oh my God, that was a beautiful goal.
Yeah, I'm with you. That was a great goal. So I'm actually going to give it to a goal I just sort of touched on, but Gio Reyna versus Augsburg takes it down with 1 foot and just hits this beautiful volley over the keeper to send Dortmund just absolutely crazy in what was like a basketball game, 4-3. Honorable mention, Fuller and Balogun, who admittedly I didn't watch any of his goals live this year, but versus PSG in the dying moments of the game, gets a breakaway, rounds the keeper, and scores to tie the game at the Parc des Princes. That was sick. Kid's a star.
Kid's a star.
That was my honorable mention. I actually got an assist of the year here too.
Oh my God.
For the sickos of you.
It's gonna be Gio, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's Luca De La Torre versus Real Betis.
That's a very
Disgusting. If you look this goal up, Luca De La Torre. It was the game that finished like 3-2 or something.
Quite a
Celta
pull.
won. Huh. It was gross. Okay. All right, Lodge. So I'm just going to run through the rest of the grades that I do have that didn't make it. So I'm giving Matt Turner a B. He got to Arsenal, kind of knew what was going to happen. He was going to get the cup games in the Europa League, and that worked out for him. He got enough playing time. He ultimately did what he wanted to, and I think he's a better player because of it, and he's still our number one. Like I said, Serginho Dest, F. Cameron Carter-Vickers up in Celtic. Had a very good year at Celtic in Scotland, but in the Champions League, he didn't look like,
it's a Scottish team in the Champions League.
Right. Yeah. So he didn't look fantastic. So I'm giving him a B+. Tim Ream A, Jedi Robinson A-, Tyler Adams A-, McKennie C, Balogun A+,
That's our boy.
D, Gio Reyna B. John Brooks, kind of touched on him a little bit. Like I said, awful F-rated move to Benfica, but then he kind of got to Germany, stabled the ship, giving him a C+. I really wish he was with the team against Mexico. I would actually have started him, which is a bummer. Chris Richards, D+. Joe Scally, A-. Luca De La Torre, B. He made a step up to La Liga. Took a long time to get going, but once he did, he really took his chance. He's like an elegant player. It works very well in Spain. And if Weston McKennie is the guy for you that's on the hot seat, I think Luca De La Torre is the guy who's knocking on the door. He's an established La Liga midfielder. Nothing to scoff at.
I would have loved him more than Kellen Acosta in the World Cup. I'll say it again. I'll keep on saying it. Continue.
Yeah. Brendan Aronson, C-. Tim Weah, C-. And then the kind of big batch of strikers, Ricardo Pepi, A. Josh Sargent, B. He had a good year in the championship, 13 goals, 2 assists, and 40 appearances, so that's decent. Haji Wright, stuck in Turkey, and that got him hot enough to get on the team, which is a big deal. And he scored 15 goals and 2 assists and 28 appearances. That's an A for me. It's time for him to step up, though. Jordan Pefok, C. And just to finally recap, or just to put a bow on this, like we've mentioned, a lot of players who got to nail their next move. In other words, a lot of players who didn't have good seasons. This has been the dark forest year for the U.S. men's national team. It had a nice little bow on top of it because you had Fuller and Balogun ultimately committing to the U.S., which is great. But yeah, it makes sense. Like a lot of these players, I was going in on Tim Weah, right? And you're like, well, or maybe I was going in like Chris Pulisic, and you're like 24, still young, still lots of room for perspective there. And in terms of the calendar, this is the best time to have a bad semester of football.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Right after a World Cup, we're all good. We got Copa America coming up to get us out of our funk or whatever.
Yeah.
Rah, America is coming back. And, these guys have a little bit of time to get established with their teams, get back into the rhythm. So,
yeah. Lodge, before we get to the Mexico preview, I do want to say goodbye to Leeds United, which was a interesting Premier League experience as an American.
Remember you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
You know, I know some fans are saying that this isn't a big deal. They're looking at the prospects for the 3 players. I think that's valid, man, but I can't help but feel that this went way worse than, or at least worse than I wanted it to go. You know, Leeds had much bigger problems than the Americans that were there, including the coach, Jesse Marsh. It wasn't like you can't pin it all on him either. But I know that ESPN tweeted out the other day, like, the American experiment failed. And they rightly got a lot of shit for that because it was like, all right, like, have you seen Luke Ayling play soccer?
Yeah.
Or Patrick Bamford? Like,
Yeah.
like there were more structural problems. But I just want to put it out there that I really dislike that our players had to go through a relegation. And as much as that, you can write that off and point to maybe some personal prospects they have. I think it's a bigger deal than people are saying.
It is.
And I think it kind of sucks. And I think it's going to be a stain on their resume.
It's going to be a stain on their resume. It's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back because, I mean, that'll get you down. That's a momentum killer to anybody. Like,
right.
Tyler Adams coming off of an injury and coming off of a relegation, like, oh my God, that's tough season coming up. Super excited for them. Wish them all the best, but damn.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so moving on to the big U.S. men's national team rivalry, the biggest out there, USA versus Mexico. This is going to be on June 15th, so a week from when we're filming today. It's going to be 10 p.m. Eastern on Paramount Plus. Games actually happening in Vegas. You know how they like to stick those games out there in the West, get all that Mexican fan money into the game. So, it's going to be at Allegiant Stadium. It'll be, like what we said, our first U.S.-Mexico game covering it. And Mexico leads the all-time series versus the U.S., 36 wins to the U.S.'s 22. However, since the turn of the century, the United States has 17 wins to Mexico's 9. Yeah. So that actually might, that's kind of surprising.
We're starting to become big brother.
Yeah. We're getting a leg up. And the biggest of those wins, of course, being Dos a Cero in the 2002 Round of 16 World Cup. The U.S. is undefeated in their last 4 games against Mexico, including winning the Nations League, the Gold Cup, and the Dos a Cero that you attended.
World Cup qualifier, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So just getting to some of the recent stories. Mexico hired this guy, Diego Coca. I believe he coached in the Mexican League before that. Don't quote me on it. He's Argentinian. He needs to make a good impression against the rival. The morale of the Mexican team is so low. Yeah, I love it so much. Mm-hmm. They are like Tata Martino put them in the ground and had a bad World Cup. So this is his chance to go take a skin against the U.S. They don't want to go 5 games without a win. Mm-hmm. So best believe, despite all of the trends, Mexico is going to come out swinging in this one. The U.S. coaching situation is a bit of a doozy. Of course, Berhalter's contract expired, and we had Anthony Hudson, who kind of like came in as like regarded as the worst coach of all time. Yeah. And there's so many Berhalter haters out there that they almost like jumped on the bandwagon so easily. But he did do some important things, getting Balogun and kind of being just this funny character in a sense of like letting the boys play, and everyone loved that piece of it. So. However, he totally cashed out on whatever good reputation he had and hit the market and went to get a job in Qatar. He said, "I'm going home." Mm-hmm. And so we promoted BJ Callanan, who no one knows who that is.
Another no name, yeah.
Another no name, another guest member of the staff where we're trying to keep continuity, which I think is the right move under the context of what's his face leaving. But dude, we got to get this coaching decision right.
Yep. I'm with you. I mean, it's another it's probably going to be another 6 months before we finally figure somebody out. I want to say.
I
hope it's before the beginning of the next season or beginning of the club season, so that like we can get people before they could get snatched up by club jobs. But realistically, like if we're on our second kind of keeping the lights on housekeeping manager, like it might be in here for the long haul.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's probably this summer, or we're still waiting around.
Or we're dead in the water for a little bit.
Yeah. And again, talk about dark forest. Like, if you're going to wait a long time, I suppose now's the time. If it were up to me, we'd be full strength every competition we play in, and like this Nations League, and we'd be going for it in the truest sense. But I get it, man. Copa America World Cup at home. You got to ace that,
Yeah.
and they want to be careful. So they got to land. They got to land the plane though. And JT Batson, the U.S. soccer CEO or director, whatever. He's something, but he's the guy, and he has landed punch after punch lately. Whether that be getting the Copa America, getting Balogun. Like this guy's hot. So want to definitely not pay our respects, but give our respect there to what's going on, and hopefully they land this. Interestingly, Jesse Marsh was being very closely linked to the job a few weeks ago. That's cooled down a little bit. It was allegedly going to happen after the Gold Cup, so we shall see. Getting back to Mexico, just players to watch. Santi Jimenez, he had 15 goals for the Dutch champion Feyenoord this season, so he's a big breakout player for Mexico. And then Edson Alvarez is player for Ajax, who plays central defensive mid. He's rumored to be going to be playing for Dortmund last year. Mexico has a couple key injuries. Chucky Lozano, often regarded as their best player, and Tecatito Corona, a solid attacker who plays in Spain. Both of those guys are hurt. Over to the U.S., our key injuries: Tyler Adams, which is obviously a huge loss. There's his backup is Johnny Cardoso, who plays in Brazil. But you'd be hard pressed to really trust Johnny Cardoso in such a big game. So
Fair.
We'll see what we're going to do there. We're going to get to lineups in a sec. But
Yeah.
Other big injuries. My preferred starting back duo of Tim Ream and Cameron Carter-Vickers, both out.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to get creative there.
Yeah.
So onto the lineups, our preferred lineups from the U.S. for this game. Lodge, you want to go first? I can take it away as well.
No, I've got it. I
right,
pulled it
let's
up
see it.
while you were talking. So.
Awesome.
Also, honorable mention, Drake Callender, first national team call-up. Super excited for you, man. We're calling him out because he's Messi's teammate. We're now MLS truthers. Okay. So, Drake Callender, great to meet you. Great to have you on the pod if you want to come over. But to the real point, Matt Turner's going to be in goal. Let's be honest there. That's going to happen. I want to see Joe Scally start.
Oh, okay.
I want to see it. I mean, I'm looking at the names. I don't really want to see Walker Zimmerman. I'm keeping him out of my team. I think I mentioned why.
Can I stop? Can I debate you on the right back thing real quick?
Sure.
So, not even debate, but just because I think we're going to line up a lot here on what we want to see. But
Sure.
I am going to go with Dest just because Joe Scally did have like a little taper off at the end of the year where he didn't play for like 3-4 weeks. So it's almost getting to a point where it's apples to apples, where Dest played like in a competitive MLS-y game for the U.S. But I'd certainly respect that.
Fair enough. Okay. Anthony Robinson on the opposite side. Let's be real here. He's going to play. Center backs.
Ugh, this is the tough one.
This is tough. Our options are Chris Richards, Miles Robinson, Austin Trusty, and Walker Zimmerman. I kind of want to see Austin Trusty play.
All right.
But I'm not gonna play him in this game. This is a big game. I'm gonna go Chris Richards and Miles Robinson.
Okay, I'm with you there.
I do want to see him.
Don't
play
trust
though.
Trusty.
He played for Birmingham in the championship. They played pretty well. He did pretty well. He's an Arsenal loanee. We have another one of those in Matt Turner and another one of those in Fuller and Balogun. So I don't know. Maybe we have an Arsenal pipeline. I'm just spitballing here, but yeah, those are who I'm going with: Chris Richards and Miles Robinson.
All right,
Miles Robinson. Continuing on. Midfielders. So we don't have Tyler Adams. What I would like to see, however, is, and we talked about it, and I think I want to do it here. Actually, I know I don't. This is a big game. Weston McKennie.
I thought you wanted a drum roll or something.
I know. I was going to go Luca De La Torre, but this is a big game.
Okay.
Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, Gio Reyna. Those are my three that I want in the midfield.
Same.
Okay. Now, here's where it gets interesting because you want to play Ricardo Pepi, you want to play Fuller and Balogun, you want to play Christian Pulisic, you want to bring Brendan Aronson off the bench, you want to play Tim Weah. How do you get all these guys involved? You're starting Fuller and Balogun. Let's be real here.
Bench Brendan Aronson.
Yeah. You're starting Christian Pulisic. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
You want to play Ricardo Pepi, but can he play on the wing? I don't really think so. I think you go with the safe position and you go Tim Weah.
Yeah, I'm with you right across the board there. These Mexico matches have been interesting for Pepi. Obviously, he's a Mexican American.
I really want to play him, but I just can't.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think moving forward, there could be a scenario where we do a two-striker system.
Yeah.
Because if these guys continue on their trajectory, we're going to have 2 top strikers.
Yeah.
Teams that have also done it, like Uruguay with Cavani and Suarez, that was fun to watch. But usually you don't have wingers at that point, and where does Pulisic fit? So then it becomes an attacking mid. It gets into this whole thing. So for right now, let's keep it at a simple 4-3-3.
I like it. Yeah, I agree. Like, Balogun's just too good. Yeah. Like Pepe's a great prospect. Balogun's too good. So yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I got. Yeah, I'm kind of the Tim Weah thing. Like I said, like I'm just a little. I just wish he had a better situation, but I still think it's worth it to try him out. In terms of subs, if we need a goal, I'm liking bringing Luka in and maybe taking Weah out, maybe put Reyna onto the wing, where Reyna did show a little bit that
putting Luka in.
Excuse me. Yeah, if we need a goal, I'm taking Luka De La Torre and putting him in as an 8 because he's got some serious creativity to him.
Fair. I was confused. Yes.
Yeah, and I think I
do want to see.
I would almost run like 3 8s, like Weston, Musa.
I wanted to. Yeah, that was my thing. Like I wanted to do Musa, Luka De La Torre, and Gio. I thought that would be sweet, but like,
yeah, I kind of like that.
I do like that a lot.
Yeah.
Now that I say it out loud. But no, for this game, you want to play McKennie. He's got the big game experience. Yada yada yada. So
I agree with you. He's gotta find some form though, and just put his staple back on his stature within the team. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Just I would bring on Luka if we need a goal. If we maybe don't need a goal, like Gio's played really well and he's gassed or something. And again, you have that flexibility where you can put Gio out on the wing. But I like Brendan Aronson press him to death is not a bad idea for these Mexico games where they get physical, and just making it less of a soccer game and more of a competition is.
He'd be great. He's going to be great off the bench, but he's going to be a bench guy.
Yeah. All right, lads, this was a blast. Honestly, one of my favorite episodes to do, but it's good to kick off the summer the right way. Got through a lot. Let's hope we get this win. And reminder, Tailgate, June 24th.
It's coming. More details. The producer needs to start making the rounds, and we need a car.
Yeah. So if you're a better planner than us, and you could probably tell just from the everything about us that we are good planners,
and you have a car,
save us, please. And you have a car. All right, guys. That's all we got. American Soccer Crash Course. We're out. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.